The recent discussions around statements made by former US President Donald Trump regarding Greenland, Panama, and Canada have sparked intense debate across the geopolitical spectrum. These remarks, which might seem humorous on the surface, carry significant implications for global politics. They hint at a shift in international relations, reflecting the strategies of major global powers like the US and Russia. This essay aims to provide a comprehensive and in-depth analysis of the geopolitical implications of these statements, their potential connection to Russian expansionist policies under Vladimir Putin, and the larger questions they pose about the global order. Donald Trump is known for his unorthodox style of communication, often blurring the lines between humor and serious policy discussions. Recently, he made remarks about integrating Greenland, Panama, and Canada into the United States. While these statements were dismissed by some as jokes, their implications sparked global media debates. Greenland: Trump expressed interest in acquiring Greenland during his presidency, citing its strategic location and abundant natural resources. Although Denmark dismissed the idea, the notion of such an acquisition raised questions about the U.S. geopolitical ambitions, Panama Canal. The reference to Panama, a crucial maritime route connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, hints at its strategic value to US interests. The canal is vital for global trade and is historically tied to US influence. Canada. Trump's remark about merging Canada into the US seemed light-hearted, but pointed to the economic and political challenges Canada faces, including separatist movements and domestic instability. While these statements might appear far-fetched, their underlying themes resonate with expansionist ideologies paralleling historical territorial ambitions seen in global politics. Trump's rhetoric on territorial expansion bears a resemblance to Russian President Vladimir Putin's policies. Putin has often been accused of attempting to re-establish the Russian Empire or the influence of the Soviet Union. This section explores the parallels between the two leaders' strategies and ideologies. Putin's expansionist vision. Crimea annexation, 2014. Russia's annexation of Crimea marked a turning point in modern geopolitics. Putin justified this move by invoking historical ties and strategic interests, the Baltics and Eastern Europe. Putin's vision of a greater Russia includes former Soviet territories like Ukraine, the Baltics, and potentially Finland. This expansionist policy is driven by a desire to reclaim lost influence. Global strategy. Russia has also increased its influence in Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America through strategic partnerships, military support, and economic agreements. Trump's statements and their implications. Trump's remarks about Greenland, Panama, and Canada echo expansionist ambitions. While the context differs, the underlying principle, enhancing national power through territorial acquisitions, draws a striking comparison to Putin's strategies. Trump's "Make America Great Again" slogan aligns with the idea of reclaiming lost global dominance, similar to Putin's efforts to revive Russia's status as a superpower. Both leaders have challenged traditional international norms, questioning the role of institutions like NATO and the UN. The statements by Trump and the actions by Putin signify a potential shift in the global order. This section examines the broader implications of such expansionist rhetoric and policies. Decline of multilateralism. International organizations like the United Nations and NATO were established to maintain global stability and prevent unilateral actions by powerful nations. However, both Trump and Putin have questioned their relevance. Trump's criticism of NATO, coupled with Putin's disregard for international law, signals a decline in multilateral cooperation. The rise of nationalism. The rhetoric of leaders like Trump and Putin reflects a surge in nationalist ideologies, prioritizing national interests over global cooperation. This trend could lead to increased competition among major powers, raising the risk of conflicts over territorial claims. Strategic competition. Greenland's strategic value. The Arctic region, including Greenland, has become a focal point of strategic competition due to its vast resources and shipping routes. Russia, China, and the US have all increased their presence in the Arctic. Panama Canal. Control over critical infrastructure like the Panama Canal could reshape global trade dynamics, influencing the balance of power. Media coverage of Trump's statements and Russia's actions has fueled public debates about the intentions behind such rhetoric. This section explores how these narratives shape global perceptions. Western media's take. Western media largely dismissed Trump's statements as jokes, but acknowledged their potential implications. Analysts have drawn parallels between Trump's rhetoric and Putin's actions, emphasizing the dangers of normalizing expansionist policies. Russian media's response. Russian media has used Trump's statements to justify Putin's policies. For instance, they argue that if the US can openly discuss territorial acquisitions, Russia's actions in Crimea and Ukraine are equally justified. This narrative reinforces domestic support for Putin while challenging Western criticism of Russian policies. The role of propaganda. Both the US and Russia have used propaganda to shape public opinion. Trump's statements and Putin's policies are often framed to align with nationalistic sentiments. To understand the significance of these developments, it is essential to examine historical precedents. This section provides insights into past territorial expansions and their consequences. The United States has a history of territorial acquisitions, including the Louisiana Purchase, Alaska, and Hawaii. These moves were driven by economic, strategic, and ideological factors. Trump's statements can be seen as a continuation of this historical trend, albeit in a modern context. Russia's expansionist policies date back to the Tsarist era and continued under the Soviet Union. The annexation of territories was often justified by historical claims and security concerns. Putin's actions reflect a revival of these historical ambitions. The rhetoric and actions of leaders like Trump and Putin have significant implications for the future of global politics. This section explores potential scenarios. Territorial ambitions could lead to heightened tensions between major powers, increasing the risk of conflicts. Regions like the Arctic, Eastern Europe, and the Pacific are likely to become hotspots of competition. The actions of the United States and Russia could prompt other countries, such as China and India, to assert their influence, reshaping the global balance of power. The decline of multilateralism raises questions about the relevance of institutions like the United Nations and NATO. Reforms may be necessary to address emerging challenges. Expansionist policies raise ethical questions about sovereignty, self-determination, and global stability. This section examines these issues in the context of Trump's statements and Putin's actions. The annexation of territories undermines the principle of sovereignty, a cornerstone of international law. The voices of affected populations, such as those in Crimea and Greenland, must be considered in any territorial changes. Expansionist policies risk destabilizing the global order, leading to conflicts and economic disruptions. Leaders must prioritize diplomacy and cooperation over unilateral actions. The statements made by Donald Trump about Greenland, Panama, and Canada, though seemingly humorous, carry significant geopolitical implications. They reflect a broader trend of expansionist ideologies that parallel the actions of leaders like Vladimir Putin. These developments raise critical questions about the future of global politics, the decline of multilateralism, and the rise of nationalist ideologies. As the world grapples with these challenges, it is essential to prioritize diplomacy, cooperation, and respect for international norms to ensure global stability. The debate surrounding these issues underscores the need for informed and thoughtful discussions about the direction of global politics in the 21st century.